afternoon. I'd like to welcome everyone to the November meeting of the Pitt County Department of Social Services Board meeting. I'd like to welcome our management team here with us today, as well as board members and those with us in attendance today and those viewing by way of television. Thank you for joining us today as we conduct the business of the county regarding social services. Let's begin our meeting today with a moment of silent meditation, prayer, and particularly remember those veterans and thank those who've come before us fighting for our country at this time. Thank you. And thank you to all the veterans who are either currently or have been part of our military service, protecting the freedoms that we all hold dear, and for those families who sacrifice time for soldiers who are fighting overseas. Let's begin today looking at our agenda. You have at your place. Any revisions that need to be made to this agenda?
None.
Move with the approval.
Second.
So moved and second. All in favor?
Aye.
So carried. You also have at your place the minutes from the previous meeting. May I have a motion to accept those minutes,
So
please?
moved. Second.
And second. Any opposed? All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Mr. Perry, if you will give us an update on our status of agency personnel.
At the present time, we have 16 vacant positions within the Pitt County Department of Social Services. We have 9 positions that are frozen. We have 3 that we're interviewing for, 3 that we have advertised, and 1 that we have recommendation pending on. We have 2 that's still frozen in the Food and Nutritional Service, 1 in Adult Medicaid, 1 in Family and Children Medicaid, 1 in Workforce Employment Services, and we have 3 in our Administrative Division that are still frozen. And we have 1 in the Services component. So we have made some progress in getting some of those positions unfrozen. But we still have 9 that still no action on yet. And we have filled 2 positions since the last time we met.
Mr. Perry, what is the total complement of employees in social services?
We have 234 positions, I believe.
Then how does that compare to last year?
What do you mean with the vacancies?
No, just the total number
We
of
have the same
active
total
employees.
number.
So it's a net the same
Yeah.
with increasing volume.
Yeah.
Any questions around agency personnel?
How many of those 234 frozen positions?
We have 9 that are still frozen.
9 of them
Yes.
that are frozen.
But the population for the county hasn't stopped because people are moving in
Right.
that is retired.
But the caseloads are all increasing.
That's what I was thinking.
All right, as time goes on, when you have these people that to retire or they move on, they quit, are all those positions being frozen
Yes.
as they leave?
As they leave.
So that means instead of 9, maybe 6 months from now, that might be 12 or 15. Is that
Could
correct?
be, yes.
And that, in certain departments, would put you at a big handicap, so to speak.
It will put us.
That's what I was talking to you
It will put
about.
us at a handicap because if you look at in food and nutrition service, just for example, you know, when a person leaves, that caseload has to be absorbed by the other staff that you have there. So you're looking at 600 cases that someone else got to take the responsibility of working along with their regular caseload. So if you got 4 vacant positions, you're looking at 2,400 cases that got to be worked among the other workers as well as get their work out.
All right, say these people then in this position retire. How long would it take you to fill that position so that you can kind of stay on top of it?
It would depend on when the county manager unfreezes that position. If that position is frozen for any length of time, then I have to wait until he gives me permission to fill it. So it could be a month, 2 months, 3 months, depending on when he says that position has been free. Now, once a position is unfrozen, we do have the opportunity of getting people from other counties that already have experience that are willing to transfer to come to work here. So the issue is getting them unfrozen that we can advertise and then begin the process of hiring someone to replace that person that left.
All right, so, but what I'm concerned with is that in these positions, that these people, employees are really needed, that we don't let them stay frozen long, that we ought to be on top of it, and that we make sure that you're able to fill those positions fast. I hope, Melody, I can get your help. You know what I'm talking about, don't you?
Yes, sir, but I would say it's not unique to DSS. Every department's positions get frozen when they go vacant. Initially, you have to freeze them long enough for accrued, for example, I had an animal shelter employee who's no longer with us, but they had 6 weeks of accrued leave, a vacation they had to be paid for. So until 6 weeks had passed, you don't even have salary to pay the next person. So we knew right out of the gate that that position would be frozen for at a minimum 6 weeks, because on their last paycheck, we had to pay out 6 weeks of vacation, and you don't have extra salary sitting in anybody's budgets. So every department is subject to the freeze. And then Scott reviews with HR weekly the vacancies throughout the county and makes determinations on what to open and what to advertise.
I guess, Melody, what I'm concerned with is what he was saying, that when an employee has 700 people,
Absolutely.
then you cannot afford to let that position go unfunded or not get someone to replace it. And I've had some people to talk to me pertaining to that, and I want to make sure that we're up on it and that we don't, if at all possible.
And it's all revenue driven. I mean, if we had excess capacity, then nothing would be frozen.
Okay, that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
My only comment, I'm sorry.
I wanted to know about the dialogue between you and the county commissioner, how receptive and how understanding he is about the frozen positions, because we want the quality of the staff to remain top notch, and so that the community is served appropriately.
He is understanding about the vacancies that we have, but on the other hand, he's looking at the revenue and the shortfall and trying to make up those balances.
You know, what strikes me is in any trend you would look at relative to community benefits provided by social services, I don't think there would be a trend out there that in 5 years wouldn't forecast a greater need, a growing volume of demand on the system you have today. And at the same time, that same system, the economics associated with that require you to be more cost effective than you have in the past. And that's certainly true for pretty much anything in an economic downturn. But it speaks to the fact that if you have growing volume, fixed supply to be able to deal with that demand, then something has to change if you're assuming you're efficient today. So I guess one thing maybe, and not for today because you would need to think on that and make sure you're comfortable with whatever, but it might be good for us to talk about at some point, what are the process re-engineering things that are going to change, assuming you've hit the ceiling of your capacity now? How do you handle community need when in fact it won't be by changing people or adding people? It'll be process re-engineering that will get you there. And how are we going about that, formally to try to change
We have
the
one
system?
program that we'll be talking about, NC Fast. That's something that's coming up in the future, so we have someone here to talk about
Great.
that.
Mr. Chairman, I know the driving force behind it all is money. There's no question about it. And the future does not look good as far as Pitt County is concerned to have an addition of funds. As a matter of fact, you can talk to the tax people and they'll tell you, instead of things going up, reevaluation is going to bring it down. And thereby, we will have less money to take into not only social service, but education, the whole force, everything. So we're going to have, we need to examine everything that we do, I suppose, and anything that's really not needed, we need to, and that's hard, and I know it is. We all know it is, but we know too that you can't spend more than you have. That's what's wrong with our country today, of course. That's all. I wasn't going to say that. I want you all to realize that.
I have one other question on this matter. Do we have an economic downturn plan today that if the county manager required reduction of expenses within the department by percentages, that you would know how you would handle that today?
No, we do not have a plan in place at the present time. The county manager did say that he will be meeting with the department heads early on to do some pre-budget before we even get into the budget, so we can look at what we would need in the future. We've been talking about right sizing, but in this process, when you're looking at social services, when you look at food and nutrition service, when you look at family children Medicaid, adult Medicaid, whenever there is a recession, you see more and more people that are eligible for services that are coming in. And on the same hand, when we freeze those positions, what you're doing is actually telling the other workers that they will have to solve the additional clients. So we have already been through the process of working with our staff on taking those additional cases, looking at what positions that we need to fill first whenever the county manager say you have permission to unfreeze 2 positions, looking at what 2 positions we need to look at. So we have looked at food and nutritional service, family children Medicaid, looking at where the need is the greatest. That's why you still see that most of the administrative positions are still frozen, because we have opted not to go in that direction, but to go where the higher caseloads are.
I guess that's what I'm concerned with too. I believe you said that we had 3 frozen positions in administration.
Right.
All right. Are those positions, can you do without them, and why have, if you can do without them, why have them there frozen? Why not move that to a position where there is a greater need?
Well, at the present time, everything that we have is frozen, so there's no
You can't move them around. You don't,
chance to move them around because those
Okay.
positions are frozen. And you look at Miss Angela Hart, she is taking over all the functions that Miss Sherry Farmer used to have, as
That's
well
what I'm talking
as
about. Let
doing
them-
her additional job responsibility. So we have done what we could in-house to shift those additional responsibilities around.
One more comment on this. Yes, sir, Mr. Chair.
I think I asked the question you asked Brian last year at budget time, and maybe with the upcoming predictions and budgets, maybe as we begin to work on budget, what if we had a 5% reduction, whether it be in funded? I understand the mandated, but I also understand a lot of programs like the heating just got cut. And so, and that's not anything we did. But would we not look at it maybe 2 quarters into this year, after the first of the year, and say, where are we? And at least there is the data to say how many more caseloads we have had. We talk about caseload growth, but how many more caseloads we have and all. And as we look at budget, maybe trying to get a workable number and have the data to support that.
We will have that information to you. Also, the state will be trying to get out their budget estimates earlier than they normally do in February. So hopefully, we will have all that information early in the year from the state as to what their projections are.
He said, what if you have 5?
If we have 5%
not if.
reduction,
You're gonna
then it would be in staff.
Chances.
Well, and I don't know
Because we have
today we
already
could
cut
make all
everything.
those,
No.
all those predictions today. But I think what I'm hearing is kind of some
A plan.
consensus around scenarios, because I don't want, the discussion we're having today is not one of layoffs or any of that kind of thing that could be construed that way. And as a matter of fact, what you're ensuring is that we're going to need more of these services provided by folks here. And when we talk about frozen positions, we're not talking about an intentional downsizing of the department. We're talking about someone leaves or vacates a position, we don't immediately refill it. Just want to make sure that the community understands the distinction between the two. What we're talking about now, I think, is just, particularly as we get into budget cycle for next year, that we have some scenarios that would tell us, how we continue to deliver the services that the community needs under the constraints of a 5% reduction of expense one way or the other, you know, that kind of thing. And I wouldn't expect us to know what that is today to be able to talk about, but just to start thinking about how we might develop a plan toward that end. Even if positions, if the 234 you have today, you have 234 next year. What I'm hearing you say is that you will have to re-engineer some processes to be able to serve those the communities under the predictions that you have out a year and 2 years from now. So I think it's not so much a downturn issue as much as it is just how we re-engineer with a fixed staffing model that we have today, even perhaps.
And we'll talk a little bit about that in the NC Fast project when Miss Kathy comes before us. She'll be talking about.
I think the data is what we're looking for.
Well, I can get the data on.
In order to prepare.
We're past the stage that we can just say it's mandated, you know, we've got to look at it all the way through.
My history here with this has been that, you know, the budget comes out from the state and there are fixed components, whether federal or state funding or whatever, and we base our design on what we know we have funding to be able to do, not necessarily on the demand of the community, because it usually outstrips our local supply of people to do that work anyway. Which just, if that will perpetuate in the future, I think what the board is asking for is let's start now thinking through a plan that can re-engineer some processes that could do it with you know, be able to handle the volume, growing volume with a fixed number of people, because that seems to be our trend right now. It's either fixed or slightly down. So, okay, we do have a lot to cover today. We have two matters that do require board action, and I think Ms. Quinn's going to present the first of those.
Yes, sir. We got two funding authorizations, one for $276,724 for the low-income LEAP funds that we have. There's no county dollars in that. And the other one is for, the same ones in here. The other one is for $726, which was for Progress Energy funding authorization. Again, no county dollars.
Okay, so you covered both of those amendments?
Yes, sir.
Do I have a motion to accept those?
I move we approve the
I
budget.
second that.
Second.
motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
It's so carried. Next, we do have several reports to the board. The first of those, I think, is related to community awareness, and we're going to talk about our adoption awareness programs. Ms. Daniels.
She's asleep.
Mildred.
Mildred.
Bill,
Good afternoon, everyone. Okay, and I appreciate everyone for wearing the white ribbons to help us support National Adoption Awareness Month. And some of the things that we have been doing for National Adoption Month is we did receive all of our proclamations. Received the one from our governor, Beverly Perdue. We also received the one through the county commissioners doing one, and we have received the one through our mayor, Pat Dunn, doing one. We thus far have had two particular events that we did. We kicked off the month with something on November the 5th, which was an event that we held at the Greenville Mall. And through that, you know, we were able to pass some of our items out to help promote adoption, pass information out so that people would know that there is a great need for adoptive parents, and that is something that's real important. This past Saturday, we had something where we had been invited to participate in the Family Day in the Park, the 100 Best Communities for Young People celebration at the Alice King Park. So we had staff members working on Saturday to share information with the public regarding that. And, you know, I understand that that was a pretty successful event. And we actually received our invitation to attend this event through our One Church, One Child program that you all have heard information about. And we'd just like to say to the listening public, if anyone is interested in adopting, they can certainly contact our agency. They can just call us at 902-1110, or you can go onto our website, and there's an application on there that will actually give you information about the different programs that the agency have, and adoption is one of those programs. So The application can be completed there. We have information also about our One Church, One Child, which adoption, falls under that. And some of these names, I know you all have probably heard. Edgar Allan Poe, who was a poet, Jesse Jackson, a politician, Steve Jobs, who's the founder of Apple, and I know a lot of computer buffs may know that name. Dave Thomas from Wendy's, he's the Wendy's founder. He adopted his daughter Wendy. Babe Ruth, who is a Major League Baseball player. Scott Hamilton, who's a world champion figure skater. And Faith Hill and her husband, Tim McGraw, they're both award-winning country singers. Those names may mean something to you just for the mere fact of what they have done, but these are also people that have been adopted. And hearing those names, now you'll know that they've been adopted, but I do have now the real thing for today. A lot of you may not have seen these particular people that I just called their names, but we all like to have something tangible where we can know that it really, really exists. So I have with us today someone that's going to share adoption, who is somebody that we have worked with. Actually, we have two people, and they're very special to us because one is an adoptive parent and one is an adoptee. So they're going to come in their own way and share information with you. So first of all, we have Miss Tanya Griffin. If you will come forward, please. And Ms. Griffin is going to share with you what adoption means to her and just in her own way, her information.
Hi, how are y'all doing? I actually started my adoption journey over 17 years ago. When I started trying to adopt my daughter, my oldest daughter, who is now 14 years old, and I adopted her through private adoption. And then about 5 years ago, I actually went through the MAP training and started to be a foster parent. I actually became a foster parent. And then my youngest daughter, who is now 4.5, came along in May of 2007. And she was available for adoption, and I adopted her. And I did bring some pictures too. And so, that being said, I've actually gone both ways. I went through social services and adopted my youngest daughter, and like I said, I have adopted through private adoption. It's been a wonderful experience for me to have both of them in my life. People often say to me that they are lucky to have me in their life, but I think I'm lucky to have them in my life. And so, like I said, it's just really been a wonderful experience for me. Both ways are different to do adoption, private adoption and through social services, but they're both wonderful experiences. I think anybody who is interested in adoption, please, please do it. Expand your family. This is how I started my family. Expand your family, start your family, do whatever you need to do. My oldest daughter just started high school this year. She's an A student. She was accepted into the Health Sciences Academy, which is a program through Pitt County that actually helps kids who want to actually go into the healthcare field. And I'm very, very proud of her. I couldn't have been more proud if I had actually had her myself. And also my 4.5-year-old, she'll be starting kindergarten next year. And I'm so excited for her. She's very, very bright. She's a wonderful, wonderful little girl. I couldn't have asked for anybody else in my life. So, I'm sorry, but it's been such a wonderful experience. And people with social services have been so wonderful to me. So, I'm very, very happy to be able to stand here and do this for them. And thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And now we have our adoptee. And I'm going to ask Carla Mack if she would come and just share in her own way.
Hi, I'm Carla Mack, and I was adopted at 11 years old with my foster family. I started off in foster care, and it was the first house I've been to. And since I've been adopted, it kind of felt like I was already part of their family the first time I went there, because they just treated me really well, like I was already there to stay. And it's been like really it changed my life really, because until I was like 9 years old, I stayed with my biological family, and I would have never known that I wasn't really supposed to live the way I was living with them. I had 8 brothers and sisters, and it was really kind of hard for us living the way we were, and I never knew like a different way of living until I met my family that I'm with now. And it's just been really great being there, and I now know that I could do things that I never would have had a chance of doing, because now I'm an AB student, and back then I was making Fs and I failed 2nd grade. But now I'm looking forward to probably joining the Air Force and then going to college and becoming a veterinarian, which I would have never thought of. I wouldn't have had really thought I could do anything really. But now I see that I have a chance of being something different and making something of myself. And I'm in school and I'm passing all my classes, and I look forward to life and just being with my family and probably having one of my own. And I might even look into adopting my own child when I can, because I think that everyone should have like a loving family to have and just take care of. And no child should like have to live in like a dirty house and think that they can't really do anything for themselves. And like everyone should like look forward to having like a job and a nice house, and probably even being able to like take care of their parents when they get older. And no one should have to go from house to house to house, like just not feeling like they belong anywhere. Which I was really lucky, because the first house I went to, they just loved me right away and adopted me. And now I'm like really happy where I am.
Thank you, Carl.
I'm glad to hear her speak. It takes a lot of courage to come before all of us staring at you. And I look forward to your great successes in the future.
Thank you.
For both of you, what a great way to tell the story, though.
Mm-hmm.
We're promoting adoption awareness, and there's no better way to talk about
Right off the cuff.
our programs than to have you tell us your experience and tell the public your experiences. And we're proud of both of you, because we couldn't do this without you being willing to adopt, and we wouldn't have stories like yours that are just fabulous stories. And we're proud of both of you, and thank you both. Thanks for coming here today as well.
I think it's so important that we now have a face with the process, and how these faces smile, and how the family comes together, and that's very important, because sometimes we look at numbers and we forget to realize that there are patients associated, people associated with those numbers.
That's the best presentation that you could have given.
Well, I couldn't have done it without them.
We got all the rest of it.
Okay, thank you all, and does anyone have any questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you
Thank
both.
you.
Thank you. All right. Ms. Burns, I'm sure you just can't wait now to talk about the Energy Assistance Program.
It's a hard act to follow.
Sure is.
I want to talk again about the Low Income Energy Assistance Program. This is a program that provides a one-time vendor payment annually to eligible families to help them with their heating expenses. There have been changes to the program this year, And those changes include there's no automatic eligibility this year. No notices will be sent out and everyone must apply. Applications will be taken December 1 through March 31st of next year. The county will mail the checks this year directly to the vendor on the behalf of approved clients. No checks will be sent out to the applicant. And the state has set benefits amount depending on the fuel type. This year, another change is that we also have a priority group or a target group. And these are people who are ages 60 and above and disabled and receiving services through the Division of Aging. This target group will be served beginning December 1, 2011 through January 31st, 2012. Applicants that are outside of this target group will not be able to apply until February 1st, 2012 through March 31st, 2012. Income must be verified. When you come in to apply, you need to bring in your income verification. And this program this year is on a first come, first served basis, and funding is based on the benefits are based on the availability of funding. We have worked hard to try to get the word out this year to make sure that everyone is aware of the changes. And I wanted the board to know some of the things that we've done to inform the public. We've sent out flyers, 2,700 copies of flyers through the Council on Aging newsletter. Since this is the population that we are serving, we sent out those flyers in their newsletter at the end of October. The Council on Aging is our outreach agency for the Low Income Energy Assistance Program. We've also appeared on Channel 7 and Channel 9, and they both did a segment on the LEAP program, and they have continued to run this information throughout the month, because I just saw it last Friday again. We also did an article with the Daily Reflector. This information is on the DSS external web page, and we have made every effort to inform our own staff of the changes in the program so that they are able to inform folks also. Tomorrow we'll be doing public service announcements in English and in Spanish that will be played on the radios. So we've made every effort to get the word out there, and I think the word is out there because we didn't have a line at the front door November 1st when the program usually starts. So we are hoping that we are going to be able to serve as many people as we possibly can this year, and the program will operate as long as there is available funding.
Okay. Any questions for Ms. Burns? Mr. Mayor?
Ms. Burns did a real good job on TV going over a topic that's both complicated to understand but has to be understood by the public in applications. I would say good job.
Thank you. Thank you.
I was wondering, we got a 76% cut,
Yes.
those funds. How has the demand changed from last year to this year?
There has not been a change in the demand. It's just a change in the amount of money that we have available to assist our population.
What I was thinking was, were you anticipating more people applying this year or the same as last year?
In the past, we had people that received food and nutrition service. They were automatically determined eligible. So we didn't, and we only had to deal with the walk-in population, which was usually around 700 people. But this year, the whole focus is everyone will have to come into the agency to apply, and we have less money, so we'll be able to serve less people.
And of those, as I think we talked about this at the last meeting. You have a way of kind of forecasting whom will be in greatest need and whether or not they can get here or not get here and those kind of things.
Yeah, we
for the
work with
program.
elderly and the disabled population first.
Right.
And then we're doing that December 1st through January the 31st, and then after that, we'll do the regular population beginning in February.
Any other questions around the LEAP program? Thank you, Ms. Burns. Thank you so much. Next, we have a presentation around the North Carolina FAST presentation. Ms. Hardison. Did I skip over Miss Mary? I'm sorry. Why don't we go ahead and do this presentation, then I'll catch up and do her. I'm sorry, Ms. Hardison. Welcome. Thank you for coming today.
Thank you. Glad to be here. My name is Kathy Hardison, and I am with the NC FAST project in Raleigh. And I am going to get this presentation up here shortly. This presentation is what I've used with our counties that we deal with and, on the project so far. I'm not going to go through the whole thing because I'm pressed for time and there's certain items that you don't really care that much about the details of. So we'll go ahead and get started. Just for your general knowledge, NCFAST stands for North Carolina's Families Accessing Services Through Technology. And it's been a project that's been going on for many years. It's had different iterations. It started, I worked on earlier iterations of it, and finally we're going to bring it to being. It's going to be implemented this time, so everybody's very excited. We're moving forward and working with our counties. What started this is that we have a lot of legacy systems that are being used in the county departments of social services. They've been around since the 1980s. They stand alone. They're like silos. They don't talk to each other. They gather minimal information on your clients, and they are not supporting our business processes like they used to. Also, because they act as silos, they don't share information. You have to enter redundant information, repetitive information in each of the systems. So the state was looking at a highly integrated case management system and came up with a concept for NCFAST. Caseloads are getting larger in the counties, the same number of workers, fewer workers. You talked about frozen positions. Policy gets more and more complicated. Caseworkers need relief. So the NCFAST program is designed to help the way that the county departments of social services, as well as the state Department of Health and Human Services, provide services and benefits to our clients and our customers. So we will get new technological tools and business processes. There'll be less repetitive and cumbersome paperwork. And there's also been some initiatives underway to give some relief in the interim. So we've implemented some online verifications, SDI, which allows counties that have case management systems to talk with FSIS, our current food stamp system. And there's also ePass, and what ePass does, it allows the customer in the privacy of their own home or in a library or anywhere they have access to a PC to actually screen themselves to see if they're eligible for food and nutrition services. If they look like they're possibly eligible, then they can send in an application or bring in an application to the county DSS. But once we implement ePass fully, they'll actually be able to apply using ePass. It will send the information electronically to the NCFAST system. The NCFAST system determines what county they live in, puts it in a work queue for that county, and it's assigned, and they can complete the application. So it can be a really good benefit for customers to not have to come into social services and apply for benefits. Also, they'll be able to check the status of their application, report changes, perform their online recertifications, and communicate electronically with their caseworkers. So the NCFAST project itself has 5 components, and the first one is what we call Project 1. That's the one we're currently working on, which is Global Case Management and Food Nutrition Services. We used to have Project 2 and 6. Those have been combined because that's what's going to take care of Medicaid, special assistance, workforce, and refugee. We moved up Part 2 from down at the bottom of the list because we have to meet certain standards by the time health care reform is initiated by the feds, or implemented by the feds. Then we have LEAP, Child Care, Crisis Intervention, Child Welfare, and Aging and Adult Services. Not necessarily in that order. Child Services will probably be moved up to number 3 because that you get more bang for your bucks. That's a major project. So we have pilots for this project, and we have 4 pilots that are in blue, and they were selected. We have a small county, Carteret, a medium county, Johnston, a large county, Guilford, and then Catawba was chosen because they have a case management system that they are working with now that's very robust, and they want to pilot using their system with ours, so they're called a CMIS county. And then we have 2 backup counties, which are Buncombe and Union. They are implementing a month behind the other 4, but if there's any reason the first 4 can't fulfill their obligations, then one of these other counties will step in. The implementation date for our primary pilot counties is the first Monday in February. For our 2 backup counties, it's the first Monday in March. Then we start rolling out across the state. So you will see that we have phase 1, which is the southeast part of the state, phase 2, which is up around the Raleigh-Durham area, phase 3, which includes Pitt County, phase 4, which is in the around the Mecklenburg County area, phase 5, which is around Forsyth, Guilford area, and then the last phase is in the mountains and foothills. And so they roll out, as you'll see, in phase 3, you roll out the first, actually Monday, July the 9th. I think we're taking into account the July the 4th holiday and bumping it up to the second Monday of the month. And we will be fully implemented across the state by October 2012. Now we have the software package that we bought to build this system had an upgrade to it, and we have made some other changes to that that may cause us to reevaluate our time frames, but so far no changes have been made. There are certain key roles in this project, and one of those is a county champion. Each county designates someone to work with the project, to be the champion for the project, and to help the county become ready for NC Fast. So in Pitt County, it's Connie Lanier, who's the F&S supervisor. And then we have a county technical champion, who's Hardik Patel, and he makes sure that all the equipment that you have in Pitt County is ready to meet the minimum specifications for NC Fast. And then you have, each county has a county readiness liaison, and I'm Pitt County's readiness liaison, and we work with the county and help them prepare for NC Fast and elevate any issues to project management. And we have supervisors that we go through if we have issues that elevate up to the project level. And we also use a couple tools to work with the county to make sure they're ready. There's one that's called a county readiness assessment, which is a checklist of going through different categories like security, infrastructure, conversion issues, and just to question how you're coming along with what you're doing with those to get ready for the project. We do those at certain checkpoints. And then we have the change discussion guide, which is a detailed 52-page document that makes you consider a lot of questions that help you think through your processes and how it's going to be impacted by NC Fast. And then we'll have training that will be delivered by NC Fast project team members. And for Pitt County, that training will take place in June of 2012. It'll be, first of all, in May of 2012, there'll be web-based training that the county workers can do from their desk. And then we'll do classroom training in the month of June that will take a full week for a caseworker and supervisor. We'll have what we call subject matter experts that will help answer any questions about policy and procedures that are not specific to NC Fast. What will it do? Well, first of all, you have to, things you can do to get ready for NC Fast. You have to have certain security levels. So the county will designate a security officer to help set up access based on their roles. There's data cleansing reports that are coming out that the counties are having to work to clean up data in FSIS and make sure that the tables that they use in the system that tells what person owns what caseload is correct, so when we convert, those will be clean. We tell the workers they need to make sure they know how to navigate on the internet, because this is an internet-based application, a web-based application, and we tell them all about the training and terminology that we'll be using. One thing that this will do is, if you have a manual process at reception, a lot of counties have a paper log, then this will replace that. It'll be an automated reception log. It'll use intelligent gathering, I never get that right, intelligent evidence gathering scripts, kind of like TurboTax. It asks a question. Depending on the answer, it will go to a guided question that, it doesn't ask questions that don't apply. And it'll determine eligibility and benefits. Workers will also get daily task lists. They'll get notices of actions that are required. Client asks why their benefits are reduced. They'll have references to policy and a copy of the business letter that was generated. There will be reports that will be useful to management for reporting to the board, such as total caseloads in county, average household size, benefit types, race, ethnicity. Workers will also have at-a-glance reports that they can see what they have on their plates coming up. And there's also some reports that will be out of our client data warehouse that can be saved as Excel spreadsheets and ad hoc reports that can be worked or created from there. A couple of things it doesn't do is it doesn't convert any information from an in-house county system, or it does not include document management. So at go live time, everything that's active in FSIS or pending or has been closed less than 2 years will be converted into NC Fast, and it'll be converted as is, and then when a worker handles the case for the next change, then it will run the benefit rules. When a client moves from an FSIS county to an NC Fast county, it will become an NC Fast case and stay an NC Fast case. If they move from a NC Fast county to an FSIS county, we are training 2 people in each county as super users who will carry the cases in NC Fast. So once they become NC Fast client, they do not go back. We've got new terms. I won't go over those with you, but the workers will have to learn some new terms because the software that we bought is an Irish product, and we made the decision that the product has to stay as close to out of the box, so we're not changing a lot of the terms, so they'll get used to new terms like claimant and evidence. Some of the benefits is that policy changes will be implemented uniformly. So when a policy changes, it just gets put into NC Fast, everybody gets it at the same time, and it's efficient and uniform. Ultimately, workers will spend less time with their clients doing administrative tasks. When they initially come in to see a worker after conversion, they will spend more time with the client because the data that was collected in FSIS was not anything compared to what we got in NC Fast. So they'll have to gather more data, enter it into the system, and also there's a learning curve, so they'll have to allow for a little extra time, but ultimately it'll be a time savings. Now, we don't mean that the system is going to replace people. They still need people who can use their reasoning abilities, that can understand how the policy is applied, so they can explain it to clients. The system can't determine whether someone's giving you information that sounds a little fishy, so that's why you need caseworkers. They're never going to go away. This just allows caseworkers to spend more quality time taking care of the needs of their clients and so much less time on administrative work. The system is easy to use. You can navigate very easily throughout the system. System downtime will be minimal, 24/7 uptime basically. There'll be to-do tasks, improve case documentation, address validation functions to reduce return mail. Workloads will be centrally organized. It'll be easy for supervisors to reallocate caseloads because they'll have a supervisor dashboard where they can see everything at a glance. Clients will gain online access. If they choose to, they can apply through the ePass program. And when they do come in, ultimately, they'll spend less time. So there are benefits to the clients as well. So that's a basic overview of the NC Fast project. and I'll be glad to answer any questions.
What percent of time do you anticipate that it will save for each one of your clients?
For the clients,
Yes.
we haven't done any kind of work on that. We did determine that it's estimated an average of 2.5 hours of administrative effort per case of information entry and processing time may be redirected to programmatic intervention. And that's over the life of a case. That's,
How many hours do you generally have as administrative? Though you say you're gonna save 2.5 hours, how many hours generally do you spend on each client then?
each county has given us their, the time that they spent with a typical interview, and it ranges from 30 minutes to an hour, depending on the case. And I would say, Mr. Perry or Connie, if you can help me out, what percentage of that would you say is administrative? 30%, 40%. I'm not sure. I don't know the answer to that.
Okay, well, that's all.
Sorry.
That'll come out as
Yeah.
time goes on. I understand
Yes,
that.
yes, I'm sorry.
2.5, just as an order of magnitude, 2.5 hours of administrative effort per case over the lifetime. So that's 2.5 hours. If a case remained a case for 10 years, that's 2.5 hours of administrative time over the course of the 10 years, right?
Yes.
So there's this sort of, whatever number of cases we're talking about, compounded over time. This 2.5 is kind of a fixed amount for each one of those. So
Yes, yes.
it's on
Estimated.
an order of magnitude, it's a small percentage then.
Yes. Other questions?
Well, that's going to be worked out as time goes on. So from what you're saying, is they've got to be trained and so forth to take into.
Yes, there will be
So
intensive
we
training.
don't really know now.
No, that's
Later on,
correct.
that we're going to really ask the question.
When do your pilot programs finish again?
They implement the first Monday of February 2012.
And then is there an end of the pilot and then sort of a review of how complex was it before we implement, or are we implementing kind of during those I know it's July for us, but is that during the pilot phases while they're just getting started on the others?
Our second backup pilot counties implement March, the first Monday in March. And then we implement phase 1 in May, and then we skip a month.
So it's really about
So we-
5 months between
Yeah.
the time you start
Yes.
one and then we start. So you'll
Yes.
have 5 months worth of sort of understanding how the program works
Yeah.
and tweaking.
Yes, before you implement. So
Yes.
hopefully we iron out any wrinkles by the time you implement. And then once we roll out that, we start the whole process over again for Medicaid work for special assistance and refugee assistance. And do it on basically the same timetable.
Are there other questions for Ms. Hardison? All right, thank you. This does get at an example, at least, of what we spoke about earlier with terms of process reengineering. How are we going to be able to serve more people with a fixed number of people? This is a great example of removing some of the workload to do that. So, thank you so much, Ms. Hardison, for that presentation. Last, we have Ms. LaTanya Nixon is going to give us an update on Educational Opportunity Center.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen.
Good afternoon.
My name is LaTanya Nixon, and I'm the TRIO Director at Pitt Community College. And I wanted to come and share with you, thank you so much to Ms. Burns for the invitation to come and share with you an initiative that Pitt Community College, we have just inherited a grant, a federal grant, that allows us to work with at-risk participants in our community to try to assist them in pursuing higher education. Let me just say that even though Pitt Community College did receive the grant, and we're honored to have received it, we are not through this program trying to push recruitment for Pitt Community College. We are recruiting for higher education, meaning if we have someone that comes into one of our centers and they desire to go to East Carolina, they desire to go to any school of their choice, we're going to work with them to help them meet that educational goal. So I just wanted to be very clear about that this is not a recruitment effort for Pitt Community College, but we are the host institution that received the grant. The way that the grant works, it It falls under the umbrella of services for TRIO. If there's anybody who is not familiar, I'll try to give you a quick synopsis of it. The TRIO programs started from the Higher Education Act of 1965, and during that time, the federal government decided that we needed some specialized services to work with individuals who considered to be at risk. And at that time, the at-risk population included low income based on federal guidelines, first generation, meaning that the parents did not graduate from a four-year institution, and or those individuals who were disabled based on emotional disability, physical disability, learning disability, anything that could be validated by a professional. And so these programs started in our communities back in 1965, and they started out with 3 programs. And since that time, those programs have grown tremendously, and there's now 5 or 6 of those programs across the nation, and they offer a continuum of education to serve the at-risk population. Currently at Pitt Community College, we have the Student Support Services Program, which work with individuals who are already enrolled at Pitt Community College and trying to meet their educational goals. Specifically, we are partnering with entities like Department of Social Services to provide services to individuals who are in the community and again want to pursue higher education. At this moment, as far as the partnerships that we have created, we are working with the Department of Social Services. We will have presence in the department. They have been so gracious to give us office space to work with participants who are coming to DSS to work to whatever reason they're coming to DSS. We'll be there as a referral. If anybody indicates while they're working with their worker that, hey, I'd like to pursue some education, a higher education, then we can be there to help that individual meet their goal. And the other entities that we're working with here in Pitt County are right now Greenville Housing Authority, and we're also working with the Employment Securities Commission right now. But we are actively pursuing all collaboration within our county to work with residents to help them pursue their educational goals. This is a 5-year grant. We received it effectively October the 5th, 2011. This grant expires, excuse me, August the 31st, 2016, with the ability to renew that grant based on our performance. We are scheduled to service 1,000 individuals annually. And what we say by service them, that's helping them through the academic process to get them enrolled in the school of their choice. And so our relationship with them somewhat terminates as they are accepted into their institutions. However, once these individuals have been accepted and they need further assistance, we do have the ability to work with them. But as far as the federal government is concerned, we can kind of say, you know, we've worked with you this long and now we're ready to move you on so that you can go ahead and pursue your education. And that's pretty much a synopsis of what we're going to be doing. Specifically, I would like to make mention of some of the services that the EOC program would help them with. We would try to help with assessment issues because a lot of times we find students or potential students that come to us and they're not quite sure where they want to go or what their aptitude is. So we work with them to determine exactly what it is they can do, and we try to link them with the institution that's going to best meet their needs. Okay. The other thing that we help them with is the admission process itself. Sometimes the admission process into college can be a little bit confusing for some of our at-risk population, and so we try to work with them to kind of demystify the process, if you will. The other thing that we work with them on is the financial literacy packet. As you know, the federal Pell Grant, that's an annual grant that individuals can qualify for higher education assistance. However, that amount of money continually is becoming an issue as far as when that money is going to dry up. So we look at the individual and we try to figure out what other financial resources are available to that potential student to make sure they have a full financial package. So we give a lot of financial literacy things because we don't want individuals walking away from us with a whole lot of loans. We understand, I'm sure all of us can agree that loans have probably been a part of our lives on our journey through education. And so we're trying to pull back from the whole loan option, if at all possible, if there are other resources that are available. So we talk to them about financial literacy. The other thing that we do for these individuals is if they are interested in a school and they've never been to the school, we provide what we call campus visits. So we take the individuals to the schools of their choice and sort of give them a tour of the school and then kind of walk with them through some entities of that particular school. Because just because somebody else went to that school doesn't mean that that school is necessarily the best for you. And so we try to walk them through a college visit and try to introduce them to some of the programming that may be available for them at that institution. And then finally, again, we work with them with college acceptance, making sure they get accepted, making sure they're aware of deadlines, priority deadlines, and different things of that nature so they can get in and get all of their needs met. And so that's a synopsis, but I certainly will entertain questions at this time if you have any.
I have some questions.
Yes, sir.
Number one, Pitt Community College, the reason Pitt County citizens have it is for trades and industry. Learning jobs that are out there.
Yes, sir.
There are plenty of jobs out there, but our problem is we don't have these students who are personnel who are able to fill those positions.
Yes, sir.
And most of it is not going to college. Most of it is learning how to plumbing, mechanics, all of these types of jobs, and they're good paying jobs.
Right.
These people that you are going to be dealing with, you're saying you want them to go to college. Well, I taught school for 35 years, and I realize there are a large percentage out there, I don't care what you do, they're not college-bound people. So how do you clarify whether or not that they come up there and say, I want to go to college? How do you separate those people and say, look, we got guidance counselors, and they're supposed to lead these students in the right direction, and what they want to do is to go to college, 4 years. But if there's no jobs for them, and all you have to do is go to East Carolina, and you got them over there by the bunches, PE, these courses, that there are no opportunities for them. So who's going to be leading these students that you're talking about to go in the right directions?
So again, as I mentioned before, one of our services is assessment. We try to sit down with the individuals and find out what their aptitude is. If in fact they do not have the abilities inherently to go into a 4-year track at an institution, then we can direct them appropriately to what we think is the best option for them. So that's the first thing that we're going to do, is sit down with them and do an assessment. Try to find out exactly what their skill deficits are, what their strengths are, and then direct them appropriately.
All right, the next thing, who's going to pay for them to go to college? Because these students that you're dealing with, they don't have the funds. If they had, they wouldn't be where they're at.
Absolutely. And the other service that we talked about was the financial literacy packets. We're going to sit down with the students and try to figure out what financial options are available to these students. And that's only going to be going through scholarships, internships, all kinds of opportunities that are out there that they may not be aware of. And so we're going to sit down with the student and try to figure out how long it's going to take for them to reach their goal, and then how much it's going to cost for them to get there, and then try to come up with as much as we can as far as financial resource packet to help them meet their goals. And certainly, sir, it may not be that we'll be able to do that completely with all of them, but we'll do our very best to help all that we serve.
And you have to think, we have a lot of people that come through the Department of Social Services that might need help getting their GED adults program. So we will have her here to help work with our clientele on those other issues as well.
Absolutely. I'm glad you mentioned that.
Yeah, that's what.
Yeah, and that is one of those services that we're going to provide to individuals that come in and say they need their GED. We're going to find out what is the best GED program for them in our area and direct them accordingly, and try to, again, demystify the process so they can get in and be successful.
I think the assessment part will be very helpful, because I think, like you're saying, there are people that college may not be the best option for those, but then there are people that feel that they do want to go to college, and that is the best route for them. Yes. I kind of wonder if there's many jobs out there as you think there are in terms
That's
of
what I was
good paying jobs. I kind of wonder about that. But I think
people are always looking for them.
Well, I think that I think there may be some issues with that, the way that's reported. I'm not sure if there's many of those types of jobs out there. Certainly we do need those, and the junior college system is certainly addressing the trades issue, and I think that's important. But I think it's good that you are addressing people and assessing them, because sometimes people say, well, to get ahead, I got to go to college. And there are two things that, from my standpoint, that predict college success. One is, do you want to go? And the second thing is, what are you going to do after you finish? And if those things are really not addressed, that person is really not going to be very happy. So I think that is really a good idea that you're doing, and really looking at the assessment part before they start.
Absolutely. And the other piece of that is the career assessment. Like you said, we want to look ahead 5 to 10 years after they finish with their educational pursuit. What's going to happen in that 5 or 10 years? Is that job that you're thinking about going to continue to be a hot job or not?
Any other questions for Ms. Nixon? Thank you so much.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you. Great presentation. You know, the sum of all this that we talk about here today when we conduct this work is, at the end of the day, we're talking about social responsibility. And on this end, it's helping people get started. It's helping people find a way to be self-sustaining. The other end of that, the adoption program, and Carla coming to us today to talk about being the benefiting from an adoption program, and what a great success it is. At the end of the day, it's all about all of those that are watching today, as well as those of us here, being engaged and being a part of the social responsibilities to help us build a strong community, because that in and of itself determines the success of all these programs that we're investing in today. We will take a large number of people participating and being involved and aware. So thank you for your presentation today, as well as the others who did. And with that, Mr. Perry, I think you have a few reports for us as well. I'm going to get there. I promise you I will.
I just have in your packet the article from the Daily Reflector on the Energy Assistance Program. Ms. Gwen Burns did an outstanding job on that. Also, we have a new policy for Pitt County, that Pitt County workplace violent policy that is zero tolerance for violence. We have posted this in both of our buildings, so when clients come in, that they would know that we have zero tolerance for violence, whether it's something that you say, destruction of property, dealing with our workers, that we will not tolerate that. So we want our clients to be aware of that as well. So we have posted that within our building. The state asked for some records on the spring tornado program, so they're doing an program integrity review of that program, looking at a random sample of cases. They will review all state employed cases, all county employed cases on that. In the Hurricane Irene Disaster Food Stamp Program, we had a letter from Dean Simpson just thanking our staff for the outstanding job that they did, and that we took over 13,780 disaster applications during that 5-day period, and she breaks it out into different categories that we took the applications. We had a FNS employment training compliance review, and the results of that review is also in our packet. We will have to do a corrective action plan to address some issues. We will have that plan to present to you at our next board meeting. So those are some of the things that we have been going on within the Pitt County Department of Social Services.
Thank you, Mr. Perry. And without further ado, Ms. Perkins, who's been waiting patiently to give us an update on your recent attendance at the annual meeting.
This is what it looks like. I attended. This was my second one. I enjoyed it. I didn't have time to attend the staff training. This time we could have gone into the staff workshops, but I did not, because the one for the board was interesting to me, and so I only attended the board one. I have placed at your seat the board item that I was very much interested in and really enjoyed, and I thought you might like to have a copy, and that might be something that Mr. Perry and the board would like to look at, and that's the community roundtables. And I also share the tips for communicating with the public, because we always talk about the telephone, but we too are part of the telephone service. So, and the next thing is the strategic plan for the state DSS board and where we are and what they are. That's my report, and I certainly hope I didn't bore you all to pieces.
You did good.
She told me she was going to be incredibly brief, if at all, so that's why I put her there at the end, make sure we got to her.
Believe it.
You took up all the extra time.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
That never happens, does it? I want to say thank you for going, representing all of us and bringing back information and insights that help guide us, and you guiding us here at this meeting with those insights is incredibly important. It's a lot of time. It's a lot of effort you make to go and participate, and we certainly, all of us, benefit from that and certainly appreciate you doing that.
And Dr. Hamilton also went for the new board members training.
Yeah, it was very interesting. It was interesting to see the different types of boards around the state and how they handle things, and really it was interesting in terms of the responsibilities that we have as board members. I do have some other information that I've been waiting for, and I have a series of manuals, and I got them through through email, and I was thinking about printing them out and bringing them to the upcoming meeting.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other comments or reports from the board members or management team?
Well, I'd like to say this, since I taught school so long.
35 years, I
Well,
think, right?
remember one thing, education is not the way it used to be. And these teachers that are in these classrooms now, somebody needs to go in there and just try to teach them one time. I think you need to go in there sometimes and teach Algebra 1 to them. And they're not even capable of passing 6th grade math.
Yeah, I think
You just need to go there, and then you come back and tell me that. Well, you know what I'm
Well,
talking about.
I think that with our education system, there's a different point to how we educate now,
Oh, that is
and
true.
I think what we're doing is we have to understand that what we're wanting to do is different than what we're preparing them for, and that's what I see as the problem, is that we're saying, well, we want you to learn this, and then we're going to test you on this, and that's really where the problem I feel is.
Well, I'm glad they're not asking me to go teach
That's
the
it.
algebra,
Look,
because
I'm not going.
regardless
I
of the
get it
student's
every-
capacity, the teacher's capacity would diminish greatly if I was trying to teach.
Yeah,
them.
I get it every day. That's the reason I know, because even my granddaughter and my son and so.
You helping them with their homework?
Yeah,
Can you do their
I
homework?
can't even do 3rd grade.
I know that what they're learning now is so far in advance.
That's
that,
right. It's,
you know, yeah, I'll get back to you on that.
yeah, it's so, man.
All right.
I'm going to be quiet now.
Thank
I
you,
got
sir.
to leave you very short.
Listen to that.
All right, we do have a need to go into closed session to review a few items. May I have, why don't you go ahead and take us into closed session, then we'll entertain a motion to do so.
Okay, North Carolina General Statute 143-318.11 regarding closed session, Section A, permitted purposes, is the policy of this state that closed sessions shall be held only when required to permit a public body to act in the public interest as permitted in this section. A public body may hold a closed session and exclude the public only when a closed session is required. Also, item number 1, to prevent the disclosure of information that is privileged or confidential pursuant to the law of this state or the United States, or not considered a public record within the meaning of Chapter 132 of the General Statutes.
Go into that section.
Motion to go into closed session, second. All in favor?
Aye.
We'll now be in closed session. Thank you.